Welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. Today we're going to put coil springs in Bill's 79 Malibu again because the ones we just put in it are too low. If you want to see what I do, stick around. Let me get this thing on the rack. So just the other day, and by the other day I mean yesterday, we put these Moroso Trick front springs in 47205s. They are correct for this car for a race application. They are for drag racing, they are not for the street. That being said, we put them in Bill's car thinking they would be a good change, and they're not for what he wants to do. Driving this down the road with these springs, it's hammering against the lower control arm bump stops, and it makes a very harsh riding around. So I'm like, Bill, it's on the lower end. It's as low as it's going to go, and I don't think you're going to like it.
Not real long.
He test drove it. He's like, yeah, it's going to beat the fillings out of my teeth. So let's put the old springs back in it. I'm like, sure, not a problem. We'll get it done. So I'm down here today. I'm going to pop these springs out. Let me get my tools together. I'm going to pull the front springs, drop the lower ball joint, drop the arm out, pop my spring in, put my spring back in, put it back together. I do have the right coil spring. My OTC coil spring compressor is amazing for this job, so hopefully it won't take me too long. And I just had everything apart, so I know I won't have any stuck bolts. So I'm going to do the lower ball joint this time, or I could do the inner, actually the inner bolts on the control arm will actually probably be easier. So I will just drop the inner control arm bolts out. There's two of them on each side. That allows me to just drop the arm out, flip my spring out, put my spring back in, and put the arm back up. So we'll do that. Let's give it a shot. Yikes. Gravity's always attacking me. You'd think it would. You would think it would give me a break every now and then, but nope. Every day. Put in both plates facing one another. Lock into our upper, rotate it up. Take it up as far as we can, which is right about there. And we screw our lower piece up. And I want to take my lower plate down as far as it will go, which means right about there. Line up our slot on our lower piece. You want to get locked in there right, or it'll bind the spring and it makes it harder to get out. There we go. Now we crank her down, tighten her up as far as we can, and then we'll take our lower control arm bolts out. I'm loose. I think these are 3/4. That's probably correct. Let me grab some more tools. I might need to pull my sway bar link off. Oh, my bolt's gonna hit my steering. Did I leave my steering wheel unlocked? I probably did not. Well, luckily for me, I can just unbolt that and drop my arms down there out of the way. So let's do that. These heim joints actually bind a little bit at full droop, which is an anomaly. Oh, come on, give it to me. I'm going to need a support. Always another way to do it. Pry bar. Now gravity's going to help out. Alright, new spring's out. Let me put the old one back in. Because anything worth doing once is worth doing twice. There we go. So let's get Krusty the Clown spring back in here. Hey, Mr. Insulator, you're supposed to stay on the spring. Make sure my insulator and my spring are in the pocket correctly, which it appears to be. I have to index my bottom spring, the end of it right between these two dots, the two drilled holes, whatever you want to call them. That guy's in. There's my pry driver at right there. Hey, let's put our lower controller bolts back in. And then we'll index our spring. And we'll be done with this side. Now I get to do the other side. Coil springs are always done in pairs. Don't let anybody kid you and just change one. Just that way. Until you spin to where I want you. Which is right about there. The end of the coil spring goes into this pocket right here. If you get those off, the ride height will be off. I appear to be in my spring pocket on the top. So let's loosen up my spring and relieve the pressure. Oh. Bottom chuck out. Come on there, buddy. There we go. I should be able to catch my upper. Rotate him down, except I got a little violent with it. So it's going to be difficult. What'd you go and get your tool stuck for, Rich? Wasn't smart. There we go, we got it. Got it. Pin out, and my puck in the upper plate. Remove my upper plate. Remove my lower plate. Since I'm thinking about it. Now, making the change to ride height should not make a change to caster or camber. The camber will change, but it'll change equally on both sides. But the camber will go positive because it'll be sitting at a higher ride height. And I'm fine with that, it doesn't matter. The caster shouldn't change, really shouldn't change much at all. But the toe will definitely change. So whenever you make a ride height change, an alignment or at least a toe check should be performed to make sure you don't burn your tires off. We are ready to move to the passenger side and do the exact same thing one more time. Let's get it done. I'm gonna put, doesn't really seem to need any grease on it, but I have a feeling I'm gonna be wearing this tool out. Put a little lube on there. Everything's better with lube. Lubrication is important. Now luckily for me, this car's bolts are not seized into the bushings, because that's a pretty common problem to have to deal with on old vehicles. Okay, I'm in my slot. My puck should engage my spring nice and clean, and then it'll compress it square. If you get the compressor mounted wrong, it compresses the spring in a semicircle, and it makes it a real pain to get in and out. Well, I set up the white flatbed, our 6-liter diesel, 410,000 miles on it. I set that up yesterday for Austin to take our trailer down and pick up his. So he's out doing that. He's been filling in doing video stuff for me while I've been taking care of stuff around here at the shop. And a couple trips and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I've been trying to clean up space on the back lot and getting rid of stuff that's been abandoned here and stuff that were bad decisions that I've decided to move on from and not worry about. You know, just cleaning up the back lot, making it better. Needless to say, I do appreciate Austin picking up the slack on the videos and keeping the videos going for you guys. We got lots of stuff coming. We got a few builds coming up. I'm actually going to get to work on my 65C10 here shortly, because I'd like to see that thing be fun on the streets. I have all the parts here. I've just lacked time and motivation to do it. And I also have a 1983 Jeep CJ7 I'm going to be putting back together here soon, because Jeeps are awesome, and I miss mine because it's been apart for too long. But that happens, especially when you're busy building everybody else's stuff. Alright, spring is released. Bolts probably won't come out easily. Back one should. Nope. Oop, that's the wrong side, dummy. Work on the correct side, dummy. Come on. I'm gonna win. I just don't want to bleed doing it. Hey, got it. And now for my front fella. Ooh, gravity's gonna get me. Let me use both hands. Oh, come on. Right, driver. Oh, it's almost like I've done this before. That insulator stuck. Nice. Controller bushings really aren't too bad in this. They're a little dry rotted. I mean, they are from 1979, but they're not all blown out and beaten up. So we'll probably do those in another session of Rich rebuilds front ends. Let me switch this nice, pretty Moroso coil out for a crusty old one that we took out of it yesterday. And it's really not a big deal that we're doing them a second time. Obviously, it doesn't take me too long to do them. If you're doing this in your garage at home, that would be different. So take note as to the warning on the directions that these springs are for drag race only. These springs would be perfect in this car if it was only drag racing, but since these guys are gonna, you know, go get groceries, and ice cream and dog food in the streets, these springs would have beaten them to death. Almost there. Gives you an idea how much pressure's in these things, or how much of the spring is under load. This is by far the best spring compressor I have found. OTC does not pay me to talk about their products, but I will say I do have a lot of OTC tools in my toolbox. This is one I am very happy to have spent the money on. Because it works. It does what it's supposed to do. Alright. New spring. Let's get the old spring. Actually, Bill's kind of lucky because a lot of guys, when they do coils in a car, they'll just take the torch and cut them to get them out. That way they don't have to worry about eating a spring in their face. And then I wouldn't have had his old springs to put back in. Well. And yes, I would have put new springs in, but it's Sunday and I don't have time to do this on Monday, so we're doing it now. Where'd my pin go? Ooh. Oh, you keep falling off. You need to go up there. Yeah, I like that. Alright. It's a pretty considerable difference in the spring. The other one's supposed to transfer weight much better, and I believe it does. But he was also really happy with the way the car ran with these springs. They have a heavier spring, a heavier trick spring. It's a heavier weight rating. And we might try those someday. Just not today. This part takes a minute. You only need to compress it enough to fit loosely, because if it's loose in the pockets, obviously you watched me do the other one, I can put it all together by myself without worrying about losing my teeth. I think that's enough. Give it one more crank just for good measure. Maybe 1.5. Alright. Let's go over there. Woo! Come on. Give it to me. Oh, the light went dead. Let's put it on the charger. These things are actually pretty awesome, by the way. I don't know if you can get a tougher real world trial than me working on cars with these things and gravity, because I can't tell you how many times I've bounced these things off the floor and they still work. Or drop them in a vat of coolant. That one still works. So you can see my spring is in. My spring is actually indexed correctly. I got to verify that I'm in my upper pocket, which I am nowhere near, but I am pretty close. The lower one is in between my two dots, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, I went a little past my dot on that one, so we'll make a match. That way the spring rates are equal. It's probably schematics at that point, but let's unload our spring. Guess I didn't need that extra turn and a half. Alright. Now we're cooking. It's a gorgeous day today. We're cold, but the sun's out. Blue skies. I'll take it. I should have gone jet skiing on that day. It was 69 degrees here in February. Although the water would have been a bit frigid. Ooh. That oil I put on there helped smooth her out a little bit. Yeah, we're out of there. Spin our upper down. Oh, like butter. I like it. I like it a lot. Hey, still winning. Still winning. Still winning. Alright, well with that, the hard part's done. I'm going to put my shocks back in. I did notice the shock bolts that were in this we're only holding with a few threads, so I'm going to see if I can find some longer, lower shock mount bolts. They're pretty standard, but they need to be long enough. The crossbars on these Viking shocks are pretty stout. So these screws that bolt into the lower control arm and hold the bottom shock cross shaft need to be about a ½ inch longer. Not a big thing, but nobody wants a shock to get punched out the bottom. Nuts. Let's put my nuts back on. Nuts and bolts. Nuts and bolts. It's still weird talking to the camera, but we appreciate you guys for watching the bits we do. It's definitely out of my normal wheelhouse. These Viking two-way adjustable shocks are really nice because you can set them up for different dampening depending on what you're doing. If you're doing road courses or twisty-turny stuff or straight-line stuff, you can set them up to do different things. We've been using these in a lot of vehicles, been real happy with them. So I just verified my spring is in the upper guides, if you want to call it that. I just dropped my nuts. Dang it! Oh, you went to Neverland. I hate it when my nuts go to Neverland. It never ends well. Those are a special nut too. Those are a fine thread. I need to get that back. Oh, there you are. I see you. Fingers don't bend that way though. I need a magnet. Hey, there's my nut. It's like finding a long lost friend. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Oop, you go that way. Let's see if I can do this without dropping my stuff this time. Hey, I got it. finish those by hand. Alright, that one fits really nice. I'll have full thread contact. I like that. Ouch. That one should be fine too. Center them up, lock them down. Gravity. It still works. It still works. I'm going to do the alignment on this thing on Monday morning. It should be a quick in and off the on and off the rack. It's really just going to be a basic toe adjustment. I still got to put body weight in the car, but rack it, comp it, set my toe, lock down my tie rod ends, and it'll be good to go. So no big deal. It should have the correct ride height. You guys want to see the ride height? I know you do. Let me drop it down. Look at that. Will you just look at it? It actually has some travel now. Nice. I think that'll actually be street drivable. I think Bill will be real happy with that. Extended car warranty. Go away. Well, this wraps up this session with Bill's 79 Malibu. Technically, this is our second session with it, but just the single visit. We put the trick springs in the front. They were too soft for this car. If this car had fiberglass bumper, hood, fenders, they would probably be street drivable, but that's not what they're recommended for. In this case, we put the old springs back in. They are pretty worn out, so they're gonna work like trick springs because this thing is drivable with the factory springs in it, but they're sitting really low. That truck's really loud. Get it? There you go. If you're gonna drive by, you gotta make noise. So this thing's ready to go. I've already put a call into Bill. He's on his way to come get it. I actually think they're bringing Billy's car for us to align it, since they just finished putting that all back together. At any rate, click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. You guys have a safe day out there. We'll see you on the next one.